Hello, this is Tip Top Gaming, here today with another video. Now today we're going to be going over today's spoilers. So for Throne of Eldraine. Fortifying Provisions is a 3-cost enchantment. Creatures you control get +0/+0, and whenever it enters the battlefield, create a food token. Now, the boost itself is kind of weak, and it is a common, so I think this will play into draft. However, one food token really doesn't seem worth it, especially in colors that don't have food tokens as a major mechanic. Next, we have Shepherd of the Flock. It's a 2-cost 3/1, but you can pay 1 and return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. That's a very blue ability, so it might see some use in white, but I would honestly rather just run God's Willing, which can make things unblockable, untargetable. This can save something, but you can't, if something would trade, you could cast God's Willing and it won't trade anymore, it'll just beat it. So I think this card's kind of garbage. Next, we have Mysterious Pathlighter. It's a 3-cost creature fairy, and each creature you control that has an adventure enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it. I think if they really want to make an adventures deck a thing, which I don't think it's ever going to be, they need to have a lot more of these cards in it. So it'll be interesting to see if that can actually form into something. I could see this happening somewhat in draft, but overall it just doesn't look that promising. It would be a white-green deck, so I'm not sure. Next, we have Acclaimed Contender. It's a 3-cost 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You will reveal a knight, aura, equipment, or legendary artifact card from among them, put in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. I think this is really good. It has knight and human synergy. It obviously has equipment synergy, so if you're going to run a 3-color equipment knight deck, I think this would definitely go in it. Next, we have Realm Cloak Giants, a 7-cost 7/7 for Vigilance. It's a mythic. That's it. I'm kidding. You can pay 5 as a sorcery and destroy all non-giant creature. So this is an adventure, and this is the first mythic adventure we've seen. It's okay. I don't know if it's really worth the mythic title. I mean, I don't know if this is low power enough to be a rare, but I don't know. Something about this I feel like feels a little weak, because a 7/7 with vigilance for 7, I mean, that's kind of lame. They can keep chump blocking it, but then again, you can still use it as a blocker, so I might be underestimating this card. However, I'm just not sure. Next, we have Overwhelmed Apprentice. It's a 1-cost 1/2, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, then scry 2. I could definitely see this maybe going in a mill deck, but it's pretty basic. It happens once, and this isn't something that's worth putting Flicker in your deck for, so I don't know. There's a lot of I don't knows. Next, we have Fae of Wishes. It's a 2-cost 1/4. And it says it has granted. It's a 4-cost sorcery. You may choose a non-creature card you own from outside the game, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So a wish spell but can't hit creatures, which is promoting a more control-based environment, which I don't know if that's exactly what they want to do. But then there's also a 1/4 for 2, flying, and you can pay 2, discard 2 cards, and return it to its owner's hand. Which means then you can do that effect again, and in a draw-heavy deck, the 2 cards won't be that big of a deal. So I think this could totally see its home in a form of control. Yeah. Next, we have Giant Skewer. It's a 2-cost artifact equipment, and equipped creature gets +2/+1. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a creature, create a food token, equip 3. I could see this maybe going in a food deck. It's a reliable, or not reliable, but it's a way you can repeatedly get food, which I think is definitely something that's needed. There are a couple things already, but this is pretty good. Or at least it's okay. Then we have Karenberg Carver. It's 4-cost 3/2. Terrible, but you can pay 2 and give something +2/+2 until end of turn. These creatures that are just generic creatures, I know it's 1 card versus 2, but I'd much rather just play like a good boost spell. Then get this 3/2. I might be underestimating that, and that might be me playing with a lot of decks that don't run a lot of creatures, but the 3/2 just really doesn't seem worth it. Next, we have Sir Farron, the Hedge Hammer. It's a 2-cost 2/2, and whenever it attacks, another target attacking creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. This thing needs to have boost, otherwise it's completely useless. This card is one of the worst Sir Farrons, I'm sure. I mean, one of the advantages here is that it's just power, so if you can boost just her power and not her defense, then the other creature gets that defense boost as well. And I mean, if you can super boost this, it basically doubles the effect, but it's very slim. You have to have 2 creatures, you have to be able to attack safely, so you're probably already winning for this to be good. Next, we have Lucky Clover. This card is what Adventure really needs. It's a 2-cost artifact. Whenever you cast an Adventure spell, Adventure, instant, or sorcery spell, copy it, you choose new targets. So this, with the context of this, that makes some of our older instants and sorceries a lot better. It makes that last green one just a normal 2-cost boost spell. But yeah, this, I think, is what Adventure needs, although I don't know if there's anything that can really save it at this point of being a deck. I think Adventure cards will see play, but I don't know if they're going to be an exact deck. Next, we have a fun card. It's Sorcerer's Broom. It's a 2-cost 2/1, and whenever you sacrifice another permanent, pay 3 and duplicate this thing. You may. I think this would have been fun for the Brawl deck to mess around with, because that's the whole theme of the deck. If you sacrifice a treasure token, boom, that's 1 mana already there. But I don't know. This card seems interesting. I don't know how practical it is. It is an artifact creature, so it might see some play in an artifact deck, especially something running like food in it that can then be sacked. So I guess this could see a lot of play, as you can create more and more artifact creatures as you're creating food, because food itself is artifact, so that boosts artifact counter things. Next, we have Wallbreaker Giant. It's a creature giant, and it can't be blocked by walls or knights. This is just fighting a theme that they put in here, so it's an answer. This will be mostly useful in draft and limited. Escape to the Wild is a 5-cost sorcery. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may play cards exiled this way until end of turn. Until the end of your next turn. Sorry, that makes this card a lot better, because otherwise you'd have to have more than 5 mana, and that would be kind of absurd. And you may play an additional land this turn, so when you hit a land in that top 5 cards, you can put it down there, and then maybe use that mana to cast something. I think this could totally see its way in a Gruul deck. It's just really expensive, but it's card draw, it's putting lands on the field. I think this could totally see play. Next, we have a Cycle of Rare Lands, which is probably what the video was titled. And so they're all monocolored, and they enter the battlefield tapped unless you control a land that, so unless you control an island. And then they have a secondary ability. So the white one allows you to pay 4, tap it, and create a 1/1. Now, there is an enchantment in the game that whenever you gain life, you can pay 2 and draw a card, which that's part of why it's so good. But it's also an enchantment you have to pay mana for. This is just a land. I think this will go in a ton of mono-white decks. The enchantment is played and considered very powerful, and I think this land will too. While the creature doesn't have lifelink, it's the same cost. However, you do need to tap this, so it's not as good, I believe, but I think it'll definitely see play. The blue one just is, the ability, and then pay 4 and scry 2. It's one of the lesser valued lands. I'd rather just play a scry land. Then we have the black one, which looks like something from Star Wars. But then we have a Castle Lock Thwain, enters the battlefield tapped, blah, blah, blah. And then you can pay 3, tap it to draw a card, and then you lose life equal to the number of cards in your hand. I've seen a lot of people talking about how this one's the most powerful, and then white's the second most powerful. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I do think this has some potential in it. Especially, and that doesn't say it deals damage to you, so you lose life, so you can't prevent it with something like the Wanderer. But, I mean, I like these lands in general. They promote monocolored, kind of, so I enjoy that. Next, we have Castle Endbirth. It's the red version, and you can pay 3 and give all creatures +1 until end of turn. Now, I'm not going to say this ability is useless. I think if you're running a mono-red deck, you should run this, because unless you're starting with 1 land, which you shouldn't, or I guess if you start with 2 of these, you should probably run this. I mean, technically, you should run at least 1. Because while 3 for 1 toughness, or for 1 attack that you can't, sink all your mana into, plus you're technically losing the mana that this thing can tap for, that's not very good. And it's just for 1 power, but that 1 power could make a difference. So I think in a mono-red deck you might play this, but I think this one's going to be one of the lesser valued ones. Then we have the green one, which allows you to pay 4 and tap it to add 6 mana. So you gain 2 mana from this, and you can only spend this to cast creature spells. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that's really good, 4 to 6. Well, then you also have to count, you have to tap this land. So you are gaining 1 extra green. So if you're playing this in a super creature heavy deck or super ability heavy deck, go for it. Or you have a way to untap this thing. Like if you have a way to pay 2 and untap a land, like without, infinitely, this is an infinite combo. So I think this could have potential, but I think black and white are the 2 most powerful ones. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date with all things Throne of Eldraine and, Magic in general. See you guys next time. Bye.